Well, good morning. What's left of it anyway here, everybody. I'm excited actually to have Cheyenne join us here from our eShepherd virtual fencing company. I'm really excited actually to hear about this product, and we also have somebody who's been using it that's going to talk about their experience. So I'll leave it to you. Do you guys have a booth here actually?
Yes.
What's your booth number? Do you know?
1401.
1401. So write that down. If you have follow-up questions, booth 1401 will be the place to go get those questions answered and have some more talk about that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone. As Don mentioned, my name is Cheyenne Lamley. I am a customer engagement representative on our eShepherd team. Joining me today, I have Zeke Dalton. He is a current eShepherd user. He is one of our customers located in Utah. So you will be hearing from him how he is using our virtual fencing system and how it has changed his ranch in his operation. So just a quick show of hands here. How many of you are currently using a virtual fence system? Awesome. Okay, how many of you here have heard of virtual fencing? Perfect. Okay, so I am going to give you a background on the eShepherd system, on our product, and how we got to where we are today. Then we'll hear from Zeke on his experience, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. So please save your questions for the end, and then if we have follow-up questions, you can see us in booth 1401. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So as you can see, the Gallagher orange here, Gallagher invented the electric fence in 1938. So on the slide, on the left-hand side, you can see Joe the horse. So Joe was a rebel of a horse. He would always rub on the A6 car. So we knew, Sir William Gallagher knew we needed a solution to keep Joe away from that car. So he composed a magneto device, and that did its job, which was the invention of the electric fence in 1938. So you can see on the screen we have the scale head and the energizer and the electric fence. And those are all key components that have been put into our eShepherd neckband and the creation of our virtual fence system. So where we are today and how we've gotten here. So Gallagher eShepherd system has been in the making for 10 years. It actually began in 2015 as Adgerson's. Gallagher invested, we fully acquired that in 2021. You can see on the screen there was a redesign of the product. It is very robust and durable. And as I mentioned, the battery technology is similar to our energizers and the other Gallagher products that we've had in the market. So we've been in the US now for 2 years, expanding rapidly. So a little bit about the product itself. As I mentioned, it is very robust and durable. The neckband is a GPS solar-enabled device. So you're going to place it on your cow or your bull. Minimum weight is 440 pounds. The top strap, as the plastic piece here, is designed to break away and can be replaced. So if the animal were to get hung up on a tree or something, this top strap will break away. Obviously, you can find it using your GPS system, and it can be replaced. As far as the virtual fence itself, we do have 2 types of connectivity. So the neckband can speak directly to the cellular network. So if you can send and receive a text message in your grazing area, you do not need a base station. It can communicate directly to the cellular network. If you do not have adequate cellular service, then we do a base station assessment of the property. We look at the coverage to see how many base stations you would need to get adequate coverage. So again, depending on your grazing goals, how intense you want to get, the neckband does store the virtual fence for 24 hours. So if you have a location, where that neckband has good communication, she goes down and out. As long as she's coming back within that cellular range, within that 24 hours, again, depending on your grazing goal, if you need that base station or tower. We do have a web app and a mobile app. So you can draw your virtual fence on your PC. You can manage it on your phone. So everything you can do on your mobile app or your computer. Again, if you're getting more intense, you want to have those lines a little bit larger, I would recommend using your computer. We do have some customers who bale graze, so they put all their bales out, they schedule their moves. If you're out in the field, you can drop a pin, you put your bale here, you want your cattle grazing this area for so many days, and schedule that out. So with our system, the virtual fence line in the picture here, you can see the orange dots. So once she is on that virtual fence line, she's going to receive a 5-second high-pitch audio tone. That's going to come out of the front of the neck band. If she continues through that barrier, she would receive a 3-second pulse, which is emitted through the chain. She can receive 3 rounds of the audio tone and pulse before she would be escaped, and then you would get notified. We do have a training period that we recommend with the cow interacting with that line to receive that audio tone to know what it means. If she's on the line and comes back in the inclusion area, she does not receive a pulse or a stimulus. So our vision of the future, so Gallagher having multiple animal management products. You might be familiar with the AutoWear, our liquid monitor, our virtual fence system. We're working on having one cohesive dashboard. So simply, managing your ranch and your property all on one dashboard, making the best decisions you can on your herd and that forage that's available to you. So using all our Gallagher tools, including the virtual fence system, to help manage your herd and your animals using that. As I mentioned, the 2 connectivity options, direct to cellular or the LoRa option. So with our system, you buy the hardware and you are the owner. The neckband price is the same for either option. So the neckband is going to cost $250, and that if you purchase 60 or more, that's a one-time fee. So you buy that, you own it. The monthly data charge for the cellular system is $2 per neckband per month. With the LoRa system, again, the neckband is the same price. The first base station is $6,000 additional, or $5,000. And then that monthly data charge for the LoRa system is $1.50 per neckband per month. If you have a seasonal lease, or if you move your cattle, you can disassemble the base station and move them. It doesn't have to be permanent. So we do have producers that shut off the neckband and they don't receive a charge. Only when you're actively using the virtual fence do you receive the monthly data charge. So again, we are an ownership model, just relying on that system and knowing that you won't have any extra added cost or any subscriptions changing with that technology. So that's a little bit about the eShepherd system and how we got to where we are today. It is an honor and pleasure to have Zeke Dalton here. He is the owner and operator of the Bar MK Ranches in Utah. He is a current eShepherd customer. He's had our eShepherd system for just about a year, and he manages 400 head of cows on 90,000 public and private lands. So with that, I will hand it over to Zeke, and we will take your questions at the end, so please save those.
Thanks for the introduction, Cheyenne. When Cheyenne asked me if I wanted to do this, my first thought was no. I don't really like getting up in front of people, but like speaking in church, you just can't say no, so here I am. But anyway, as you can see, we run on high desert ground. That sits about, that there's about 5,500 or 5,500 feet elevation, and then we run up about 10,000 feet elevation on the mountain. So our range drastically changes depending on where we're at. Some areas we get anywhere between 7 to 10 inches of rain, and other places on the mountain we get 15 to 20. So in a very short distance, our moisture changes drastically. Our operation, we run mainly a stalker operation, so we'll buy the cattle in the fall, and then or spring, sorry, we'll buy the cattle in the spring, and then we'll turn around and sell them in the fall and just try to put weight on them. My brother, we do a lot of work together. He actually has his own commercial herd, and anyway, we help each other out a lot. Which one's the clicker on this? Okay. So this is some pictures of the ranch. So why virtual fencing? Fences not tight or complete holes in the natural fences. So a lot of our boundaries are natural boundaries. They're fences, or the fences are canyon rims or canyons, or some of it's just like that dark timber you see in the background, and that's a lot of our fence, makes up a lot of our fence. So we mix up with our neighbors off and on, and thank goodness we have good neighbors for the most part that we help each other out a lot. But we wanted the virtual fences partially just to have better containment of those cattle. I'm sure you've heard the saying, good fences make good neighbors. And then the other thing, we buy a lot of cows, so we only put our collars on 400 head last year. We're actually planning on doing about 1,100 head this year. And so we're working on purchasing more collars to put on everything. The cows that we buy, not all of them respect fences. Some of those cows that we buy, they've been taught to go through fences. So we bought one, I just put some brands on them, turned them out water by water, got up there and I was checking on them, giving them some mineral. And I watched one cow go over to the fence, start pushing on that barbed wire fence. And this was a good 4-wire strand barbed wire fence. And that yearling just kept pushing on that fence. And pretty quick, that yearling is right through that fence. After we got these eShepherd collars, that pretty much put an end to a lot of that. We did end up with the few cows getting out in the summer, but we only ended up with 3. One was a cow that she'd tear down fences, and anyway, I ended up actually having to go get her, and I roped her and drug her in the trailer, and she went to the sale, and that solved that problem. But she didn't respect nothing. She went through barbed wire fences like there was no tomorrow. They didn't slow her down at all. The other 2 that got out in that 400 head, they were easy to get back in. They were easy to contain after that. One thing I noticed, the longer that the cattle wore the collars, the better they respected the collars and better they listened and stayed where they were supposed to in the virtual paddock. We run on federal range, so there's a lot of people come and go as they please, and they go through gates and stuff, and they leave gates open. That's been a huge problem for us at different times. They go down in an area, they go down a road or whatever, and in some ways, I don't blame them. I hate gates too, and they'll leave a gate open, and they'll think, oh, we'll just close it on the way back, or sometimes they just leave them open. But even when they close them on the way back, what they don't know is we have 2 or 3 cows that'll go down through the gate, and and then they'll close it on the way back, and then we end up with 3 or 4 cows on the wrong side of the fence. And in areas where we don't have water in that pasture, that can be devastating for us. We've actually had cattle locked on the other side of the fence and actually choked to death and died because they couldn't get a drink of water. And even pastures that we moved from our lower country up to our mountain range, we have pastures that we drift through, and if we don't have, it's like this year and last year, they were dry, and some of those ponds and stuff don't always fill up with water, so we still drift through there. But we have fences that have gates, and we try to leave those gates open. But if they get closed on us, it can kill our cattle, and we'll actually take the gate off and remove it and go hide the gate. And we've actually had the gate. Somebody thought they were doing a good deed, and they went and found the gate and put the gate in, and then our cows were locked off of water. So we had that happen too a time or two. Thank goodness that's rare. But you can't be mad at them because they were really trying to do a good thing. That's one thing nice about the collars. I know where my cows are, and I know that there's a problem with them if they can't get to water for some reason. So on the ranch that we're on, we have several highways that go through our ranch, and they're open range. And I know each state has their own open range laws and stuff, but in Utah, on open range, if somebody hits the cow, they're supposed to pay for the cow. The problem is they don't always report when they hit a cow. So any of those cows that get hit, we don't get paid for, we don't get reimbursed for. We're just out that money from that cow getting killed. The other thing that's bothers me with that too is those cars, when they hit a cow, I've seen some of those vehicles and I don't know how those people lived through it. It should have killed them, some of them. And anyway, 10 to 15 head of cows getting hit every year on the highway is a big deal. And we were talking to the state, and we were going to get the state funding and stuff to try to build a fence along there, and then we were fighting back and forth on who should pay for it, and we got to looking into these collars, and we're like, well, heck, we'll just use the collars, and then we kind of gave that up and quit messing with the state as far as getting the fence built. But since we got the collars, we have not had one cow hit on the highway, and that is a huge difference for us. It's a peace of mind that I don't have to worry about people going down the highway going 70 miles an hour when they should be going slower and killing themselves by one of my cows. So the next three I'm going to talk about on the next slide. It's the size of paddocks too large, overgrazing while undergrazing. Is everybody in here, I imagine, knows what undergrazing while overgrazing means? If not, I'll go into it just a little bit. So if you have too large of paddocks and the cow goes or you put a big bunch of cows in a pasture, but if they're there for a long time, they'll go back and they'll eat what they like. And they'll leave all other kinds of grass, and your better desirable grasses, they'll graze it too hard, and eventually you're going to hurt those good grasses, because those grasses that aren't getting grazed are going to choke out the good grasses, and your good grasses, you're going to lose them eventually. And so the idea behind that is, if undergrazing while overgrazing, the solution for that is actually running more cows, but moving them more often. And then, anyway, if you look on the map here, this is just our forest range on here. And I've got there's two different allotments on here. The one on the right side, or I guess it'd be my right side, your left. The one on that side of the screen, we go on the mountain with 425 head, but where this year was a dry year, last year was a dry year, this year's going to be a dry year. We're going to have water problems, and can I step off the stage, or does that matter? So there's kind of a mountain range right here that runs between this pasture here, and then this is kind of one of our pastures. So one pasture is on this side, one pasture is over here, and but where we have those water issues, if we tried to go up on that piece with 425 head, we wouldn't be able to, because the water up there just isn't good enough. There's not enough water for them all to get a drink. And so what'll happen is they'd all be standing around that spring trying to get a drink. They're going to be stressed. They're not going to gain. They're not going to get a good drink. And so it's just, so to be able to go up there, we would have to go up there with a lot less cattle, and there's no way to haul water up there. It's just too rough. There's no roads, and there's no way to haul water there. But to change that, what I'm going to do, actually, and we've already talked to the Forest Service about doing this, is we're putting 142 head here, 142 head here, 142 head here, and with the virtual fence, we're going to be moving them around. And so right now, without the virtual fence, we move them about every 30 days. But with the virtual fence, we'll be moving them about every 4 days and rotating them around the mountain, which is way better than every 30 days. So that is drastically changing our whole, how we're running on the Forest Service. And then over here on this side, we have water issues, but they're different. We have actually better water, but it's a long ways from the other water sources. So we're actually going to be moving them a little less often on this side than what we normally do. Normally we run this 400, there's 400 that we run on this side as well. And we move them about every 30 days without the collars, but with the collars, we've been moving them about every 10 to 12 days, 14 days, depending on where they're at. And then out on this, it's actually east of Monticello. We have a bunch of private land, and then out there we move them about every 1 to 2 days. And the reason why I wanted to show this map and stuff, because you guys know your ranches better than anyone. And even though we're on forest land and it's really hard to get stuff done on federal ground, we were able to implement this on federal ground, and they were completely okay with it and signed off on it. And so anyway, however you use the collars, use them to your advantage, and use them, implement them. You can use them however you want on your place. Training and installation. How cattle responded to training process and timeline and learning curve. So one thing we did when we put our collars on the cows is we thought we had them trained, and we had this fenced pasture. It was about a 5,000 acre pasture, and we kicked them out into that pasture, and I put a virtual fence right across in an area that I knew the cows would hit. And I thought we had them trained at this point, and they were going back and forth through the virtual fence. And I thought, gosh, this isn't going to work at all. About after 2 days of that, I was like, we're going to train them to go through it if we keep this up. So we changed our boundary and stuff and put it a little bit more around natural boundaries where they would respect it. And we actually trained them to respect the virtual fence. So how you go about it is a big deal. Work with your cows and not against them. And by the time we got to the mountain, they respected the virtual fence. They completely respected it. And just the longer that they wore them, the better they were as far as responding to the beep and turning around and staying where they're supposed to stay. Let's go to the next slide. This button, right? Okay, so can we hit play on that video? Oh, perfect. So this is some of the brush that we have up here or up there on the mountain. It's really, really thick, and we were actually told by some of the neighbors that the collars with the solar panel wouldn't work in our area. We actually had a neighbor. He tried some brand. I don't know what he tried, but anyway, they wouldn't stay charged, and he wasn't able to use the shocker on the virtual fence. All they could use it for is the GPS reading. And so that was a hurdle that we had to overcome when we were looking into the virtual fence collars. And we talked to Gallagher about it, and they assured us that they would work, and in my opinion, they've outperformed everything that they said they would do. I've been very impressed with their collars. And even though we have all the brush and everything that we have, with yearlings, we're buying them at 550 weights. And we fit them a little bit loosely so that so we didn't have to take them off or put them in a corral and readjust them. So we fit them pretty loose. And that whole last year, we only lost 2 collars. One, there was a tree that this yearling was scratching on, and it was hanging right in the tree, right where the GPS said it was. And I was able to go and put that collar right back on that cow. And then the other one is there's little clips in these, and I forgot to put the clips in. So both reasons why we lost those 2 collars or they came off the cows were really my fault. I can't blame either one of them on Gallagher. Their design, the design on these is awesome. They're easy to put on your cows, and I really like the design that Gallagher did with these collars. How often are boundaries moved? We kind of talked about that one. Use of web app or mobile app. It depends on who you are. I've got a neighbor over the mountain. He actually likes the mobile app better than he does the web app. I like getting on the computer and doing stuff on the computer more. So I guess that kind of depends on your own personal preference. Labor reduction and time savings. That has really tremendously impacted our ranch. So on the summer range and stuff, when we're bringing them off in the fall, a lot of those pastures, you can see the brush is thick, and there's a lot of places for cows to hide. And usually when we go together and off the mountain, it takes us about a month to get those cattle gathered. With the eShepherd collars, we brought them down in 2 days, and we only had to go back for 4 other cows. That is a huge game changer. That was night and day difference for us. It saved us a lot of time. And then just moving pastures, we moved pastures too. We knew where those cows were. And even when I went back and we had to go back and get a few stragglers, like before, we'd ride the whole pasture. We'd ride miles and miles on horseback looking for cows, tracking them to get them to the next pasture. But with the app, I can pull them up on my phone. I can go right to them. It completely changed how I was riding. And anyway, that was something cool that I thought about these collars. It just took a lot of load of, or saved me a lot of work going and looking for those cattle. Okay, results and outcomes. Better land stewardship and grazing efficiency. So obviously when you can do more of the intensive type grazing, you can increase your soil health, you can have better ground cover, and you can improve your range. And it still blows me away that we're able to do this on the forest. We or on federal land at all. When we have some fences and stuff that we've been trying to get built for 30 years. We actually have one fence that goes on my brother's outfit from the winter range to the mountain. And anyway, it took us 30 years to get that fence built. And if you think about that, you can immediately use these collars to start improving your range now. We had to wait 30 years to be able to start improving our range with that fence. And so that is such a game changer with being able to manage your cattle in a way that you can improve the range and give parts of your range enough rest that it needs. And where we had to go on that pathway, it was the only way to get to the mountain and the only way to come back to the winter range. And we were going back and forth through it spring and fall. And when you're hitting your spring and fall range year after year, every spring, it's really very hard on your spring range, especially when that new growth is trying to come and you're trying to stay on top of it and protect it. So optimizing timing of cattle turnout, that's been a big deal for us too, because when the one pasture that we go into, we go in the 15th of May, and then the second year we'll go in the 15th of May, but the third year we have to wait until the 15th of June to go in. And the reason why is because there's no other fences to keep them off that higher elevation ground, and that grass just isn't ready yet. So because there was no other fences, we had to do a rotational grazing. So every third year, we had to go on the 15th of June instead of the 15th of May. And because of these collars, the Forest Service has actually agreed to let us go on the 15th of May every year, because we can keep those cattle down lower, and that's a month's worth of feed for 400 head, and that we don't have to come up with every third year, and it's made the management a lot easier going up onto the mountain. Improved control of seasonal grazing and elevation-based grazing movement. So that one kind of covered that on that. So now I guess we'll turn the time over to you guys. You can ask questions and stuff. If I can't answer them, Cheyenne will jump in and answer any of the questions you have.
Again, don't ask a question without a mic in the hand.
So how close can the animal get to the fence before it sends the signal?
They're pretty accurate. Like they're almost right on. It'll beep first before it shocks them, and then if they don't turn around with a beep, then it'll shock them. Maybe you can answer that question.
Go ahead. Because we do a lot of high stock density on our farms and ranches, probably about the size of this room, and we'll have 25, 30 animals in this small area.
Right. So we're not RTK accurate, not inches, but on the ground, I would say 3 feet, give or take. But I always say once you have your neck bands, draw your line in your corral or right on your driveway, and you're going to hold that up, and you're going to know the accuracy at your location.
Okay.
Because he, being in Utah, I mean, obviously it's GPS, right? So depending on where you are, obviously we're not John Deere precise, but we're going to be, 3 feet, give or take.
Okay.
Zeke, what made you go with the Gallagher collars?
So that's a good question. So I looked into all the other collars. One of the things was our neighbors were telling us some of the solar panel collars didn't always work where we were at. And anyway, one advantage that we liked about these is you can put them on your cows and they'll last 7 to 10 years. That was one huge thing for us. Another one is they don't have any they do have a battery, but you don't have to change out the battery every 6 months to put on your cattle. If we had to have something like that, they wouldn't even work in our area because we don't even have a we don't even have a corral on the mountain, And so as far as getting them back in, getting them in the corral, the extra hassle of putting them in the corral, the extra stress on the cattle, everything else, we didn't, those ones with the battery just wouldn't work for us in our operation. These were the ones that were in my opinion, I thought were the best on the market, and that's why I went with them.
Cheyenne, is there any cost share opportunities for this?
Yes, there are. As far as NRCS goes, I would say each state, each county handles it a little bit differently. With the EQIP program, yes, there is virtual fencing funding, so I would say reach out to your local representative. There's also some wildlife organizations that are supporting virtual fencing, Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, some of those routes, some of those also have funding available, wildlife resources as well. So yes, funding is available, just finding the right person and working with them to get that application in and processed is the biggest hurdle, I'd say.
Yes.
Oh, and Zeke, I guess you can speak a little bit to your funding in Utah, your experience.
I think you covered it on that, but we got our funding through the Utah GET program, and they're very helpful as far as funding. Through the USDA office, we weren't able to get funding there, but we were able to get funding through Utah. So that's how we got funding for the collars, and that helped out a big bunch for us to afford them.
Hey man, thanks for sharing your experience. It's a really great story, testament to virtual fencing. How many base stations did you end up having to install to run the operation?
So for 400 head, we had 3 base stations. We put ours on trailers and we did move them. But you do have to take off the antennas or you'll break the antennas when you're moving the base stations.
In moving the base stations, making them mobile does void the warranty. Obviously, each operation is different. So some people just say it's convenient when I'm moving my cattle, I'm going to move my base station. That's just an individual operation decision to make. But as I mentioned, you can disassemble them. You can move the base station to a new location, or in Zeke's case, he made them mobile.
And I'll interrupt real quick. Some of the areas that we actually thought we were going to have to pack them in on a horse. And we were looking at, I'm not going to say the other companies, but there was no way we were putting them on a horse. No, not a chance. But the Gallagher base stations, they're small enough. I can easily put them on a horse and pack them in on a horse if I needed to. It wouldn't be hard to do that at all.
So on these base stations in remote areas, how do you power them?
Solar panel.
Oh, okay.
So.
On high density improved pasture, how quick or how often can you rotate? Is there dailies, half day? How's that worked out for people?
Yep. So you can go down to hourly, 3 hours, 6 hours, again, whatever works for you. That cadence communication can go down to 10 minutes. So you can schedule your moves out for the day. You know, if you want to open up every 6 hours, we have a customer that does about 20 feet. So he's opening that up, you know, daily, multiple times a day.
I was gonna ask like how much you trust the fence, because where I'm at, I graze on center pivots. I've wondered about using this to replace a hot wire fence instead of going out and being able to draw my circle. Would you trust the fence enough to do that?
Yes. So I've actually had better luck with the virtual collars than I have with my barbed wire fences, especially where we buy the cattle that we buy. A lot of those cows, some of those cows just don't respect. I've had as many 30 head just go through a good fence. And then I've rode the fence looking for a hole because I was like, if there's 30 head out, there's got to be a big hole somewhere. And I've rode the fence and I could find places where cattle crawled through, but there wasn't much of a hole. And anyway, with the virtual collars, with 400 head, I only ended up with 3 out. And without the virtual collars, I ended up with a lot more cattle out on my neighbors.
So you power the base station via a solar panel, but does it get connectivity from SAT or from 4G? Like, how does the base station get its connection?
Do you want to answer this one?
Yes, it is the satellite connection. No, sorry, Wi-Fi station, right? Sorry.
It can either be cellular or a satellite connection depending on the operation and what they have available.
Sorry.
It's okay. When you're busy.
Yeah. Get my workout.
Do you experience skin irritation from the animal wearing it for a prolonged period of time, which I assume is months, and I assume the chain is around the cow's neck? So do you deal with any kind of pressure necrosis, anything like that?
I was curious if we were going to have any war or sore marks on the cows or anything after wearing them all season. We pulled them off when we sold them this fall, and I didn't notice any wear marks or sore marks on the cattle. And that was after having them on the cattle for about 8 months.
Does the collar help shift animals or move them between pastures?
Yes. Depending on where you're at, especially if you're in irrigated fields, you can move them with the collars 100%. No issues there. But where we're at, we've got a lot of rough terrain and stuff, and some of the areas that we're at, if you're going to get the cows there, you're going to have to drive them. And then even when we brought the cows off the mountain, we had to drive them off the mountain just because the cows were still in belly deep grass. It was green. There was no reason for them to leave. There was no snow yet, and there was just no reason for those cows to leave, and they wouldn't leave unless we drove them off.
One question I have. Oh, go ahead. One question I have is, if you do a cow-calf operation, how do the calves do without a collar? Do they stay with the herd, or do you have to get them collared as well?
They'll stay with their mamas for what I know. That's probably more of a question for Cheyenne.
Yep.
Because I really haven't done the cow and calf yet. My brother's planning on purchasing the collars for his, but we just haven't done that yet.
Yep. Sorry. The minimum weight is 440 pounds. So with the cow-calf producer, we still require an exterior fence or a boundary fence around the outside, but they're calling it creep grazing. The calves are getting out in front, relying on that animal behavior to come back to their mom. So no, usually at weaning time, you can install the neck bands on the calves or sell them, whatever your operation looks like, but no issues as far as the calves coming back. Just relying on that herd mentality in rotation.
So, what kind of training time would you allow, like, in your experience with stalkers?
So we only had them on ours for about 2 weeks before we kicked them out, and then we kicked them out into that 5,000 acre pasture, and then we actually, I don't even think we actually had them on a full 2 weeks, but then we kicked them out. And then after we had to adjust our virtual fence, but it was like another 2-3 weeks before we went onto the mountain. And at that point, they completely respected the virtual fence. And yep, exactly.
Yep.
What was the follow-up question?
He's wanting to have an eye on them, to have them, for health reasons and stuff. So that's a good training period.
Yep. That you brought up another point too there, because we actually had a sickness that got through some of our yearlings on some of the ones we bought, and we realized that because of the collars, we wouldn't have known that. We actually had a few die, and so we went out, we gathered them up, figured out what it was, gave them the vaccine, and it really saved us a lot of, normally we just kick them out in that 5,000 acre pasture, and then we leave them for 2 months and then or a month, and then go gather them later, but because of the collars. But because of the collars, we were able to, it gave us an edge on that, and we knew we had a problem before it became a big problem, so we were able to vaccinate them in time. So that actually helped us out a ton. That really saved us. I don't know how much it saved us exactly, but I know it saved us a lot.
Yep.
That was a bad sickness.
Sorry, I'll just feed off of that a little bit. So for training, we say 3 sides of physical fence, 1 virtual line, and then on the web app, you're watching the audio tone to pulse ratio. So we want to make sure all the animals interact with that line to know what those cues mean. And then, 7 to 10 days, depending on your herd size, depending on your training space. But we're watching that ratio, 80% or above. We say, they know what those mean, they're ready to turn out.
Yeah, question, Cheyenne. I wanted to try this on bulls. Has there been any research done with the collars on bulls?
Yes, absolutely. So for bulls, we do offer an XL chain, obviously with a larger neck size. We have some herds in New Zealand that are strictly bulls. I have one producer in Oregon, has a group of heifers that are exposed to a bull, a group of cows exposed to a bull, runs them side by side. Claims the bulls are more responsive to them than the cows. So yes, they have been on bulls, and they are very effective on bulls.
And no problem, retaining the collar? Because I know with other companies, they're having a hard time keeping the collars on them.
Yep. So I'll just point out on ours, obviously the buckle is going to go around the neck. We do have 2 lock-in pins that go in on each side. So once you have the neckband on and installed, you put the lock-in clips on each side, and that's going to secure that neckband. We don't see them falling off. Obviously, fitment is key. We do an onboarding call with you to make sure you have the tools you need and fit them correctly. Obviously, we don't want them too tight, but we don't want them slipping over the neck. But once they're installed, they're not falling off. And if for some reason they do, you have the Bluetooth location to find that neckband, but not just slipping or falling off. Any final questions? Perfect.
So this will notify you if a cow's not moving for 24 hours or 2 hours or 12 hours or what?
Yes, it'll send you a text message and let you know that the cows, and then also if it gets, another feature I like too, if it did get through the virtual paddock, it'll send you a message as well. But you have to get on the computer and turn that setting on or feature on.
So a push notification can be sent to your mobile phone if you want to receive the notifications, otherwise on your web app as well. So we do have animal down. So if something's wrong, that animal doesn't move for 2.5 hours, you get notified. Animal escaped, so she can receive 3 rounds of the audio tone and pulse. If for some reason would get out, you would get notified of that as well. So animal down, animal escaped, and then when that VP activation is complete, you would get notified as well. Yep. Do you have another one?
I guess when she does get out, you can track her with the GPS. Where she
Yes, yeah, we do have a track map, so you can see her. If they're trained properly, we don't see them just going through the boundary. We do have a predator feature as well. So if there's something that's spooking your cattle and they get going, they are going to detect that speed. You're going to get notified immediately something is wrong. And that virtual fence line essentially is a one-way gate. So if she does get out, she can come back in without receiving a stimulus. We do also have something called return to paddock, where we can push her back towards the boundary once you have that installed and everybody's trained properly.
So one thing I noticed on some of our cows too that would get out, a lot of times they'd end up right back in the pasture where they're supposed to be before I think, oh gosh, damn, I'm gonna have to get that one. They'd be back in the paddock before I even got over there. So that worked out good for me.
Paul's going to get his own mic here soon.
What about small ruminant? Do you have any colors for those?
Not at this time. Yeah, right now we're just focusing on the beef space, trying to make that the best product we can. And eventually down the road, a few years, I would say. No timeline, but we're always working to make the product the best it can be. And small ruminants is something we get a lot of inquiries for. All right, any final closing question?
That was a great session. Thank you so much, Cheyenne.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys for your time. Hopefully you got some takeaways today. We are at booth 1401 if you want to take a look at the web app, or if you have any follow-up questions, the eShepherd team is there. Myself, or if you want to speak with Zeke some more to ask him questions about his operation, he's happy to do that as well. So thank you guys for your time. Enjoy the show. 1401 if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Sorry, what part of the state are you in?